Hi, everyone. You are listening to Play Now, Play for Life, a podcast for music educators. I'm your host, Erin Hansen. I'm a former music teacher of 29 years and now a part of the West Music team. Every episode, we sit down and chat with experts in music education to learn about their tricks of the trade. And today, we are talking, this is our second podcast, which is so exciting, but we are talking with Judy Pine, who is with our wonderful West Music team. And we have a lot to talk about. So we're going to talk about how to set up your classroom, how to maintain your classroom, instruments, all of those kinds of things. We have so much here. So we just want to welcome Judy to this podcast, which is so exciting. So welcome, Judy.
Hi.
And I guess the first question I have, just to share with people listening to this podcast or watching the podcast, is could you maybe just start by talking about your own music background, teaching background, and your role here at the West Music Company? Because I think that's all very interesting for people to know.
Oh, sure. Well, I was always involved in music education, music all my life. My dad was a minister, and so churches always needed piano players and organists. So my sisters and I all learned how to play piano and organ some too, a little bit, as well as sang in the choir. And then when it was time for me to graduate from high school and look what I wanted to do, I wanted to be a high school choral director. So I went here at the University of Northern Iowa, in choral music education, and soon discovered piano was probably better for me. I was not going to be an opera singer by any means of the foray. Coming from a small school, you quickly learn in college. It's not quite what I thought it was going to be. But I had a wonderful piano teacher and became a piano major. And while I never would play at Carnegie Hall, my teacher always encouraged me to become an educator. She thought I could be a good educator in whatever foray I chose. So I first wanted to be a choral director. And then by luck, one summer, I stayed at college and between my junior and senior years, and I took an advanced music methods class. And that was really my first longer term exposure to Orff, Kodály, and Laban movement. 1 week of Kodály, 1 week of Laban, and 2 weeks of Orff Schulberg. And I was bit. I knew I wanted to be an elementary music teacher. And so instead of student teaching in high school, I was able to switch it, and I student taught in elementary and got a job that spring. And then I was like, well, I need more than what I just got in college, as many people discover. And luck would have it, this same professor that had been at my university kind of subbing one summer as my professor took a sabbatical to study with Grace Nash. That's how old I am. Yeah. And so, but in the summer of 77, when I graduated, I was able to take level 1 in Des Moines, Iowa with Jane Frazee and Arvita Steen. And I just soaked every minute of those 2 weeks up, learned a lot of things, and then was excited to teach elementary general music, which I taught for 3 years in Southwest Iowa and Creston, Iowa. Grades 1 through 5, 3 programs, 10 days of Christmas caroling about right now. I could still sing every verse of Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, I'm just sure. And, so I developed my love of music education early and really enjoyed teaching. But I was looking for a position where I didn't have 3 buildings. Granted, I was all in one little town, but it was a lot. So, and after my first year teaching, I took level 2 in Des Moines, Orff. and Connie Saliba, who recently passed, and Nancy Ferguson, her cohort, who had passed away a while ago. They taught level 1 and 2 in Des Moines. So now I had Connie Saliba, which was so different than the Minnesota people, yet it wasn't. And then crazy me, I went home that summer for 3 weeks and helped my folks on the farm. And then I went to Minnesota and took level 2 up there with Jane. Oh my goodness. Oh, I loved it. And then the next summer I took level 3 with Yos. So that's how I found West Music. Was my first summer. Well, yes, in the summer of 77, because West Music was just getting into providing instruments for ORF courses back in 1977.
Okay, so now I'm just curious. So where in Des Moines did they have courses at that time?
Oh, there was only 2 years. Grandview, well, 3 years. Grandview College in Des Moines, small school. Dick Stromberg was the gentleman that ran it. And he didn't last there much longer and went to Vermilion, South Dakota, and then I lost track of him. But he was really a trendsetter. Back in 76 was the first time they had a levels there. And then I took it in 77. And when you look at the history of Orff Schulwerk in the United States and courses, that really was pretty soon.
Yeah, that was early. And I think one of the things you said early on is so important because I was the same way as an undergraduate. Everybody thinks they're just going to teach high school.
Well,
And then they come into your rooms and they see what is happening in general music and then they say, I don't know. I think I'd rather be here. I mean, it's just this whole mind shift.
When I was in elementary school, we sat and sang out of books.
Yeah.
And because I knew how to read music as a piano student, I could actually read the words and the music, and being a church musician too. And so we didn't have instruments. I don't even remember we had things like sandblocks. I don't remember any percussion at all. It was singing, and which was wonderful. Singing is so important. I mean, it's our true musical instrument within each of us. Compared to what I walked into as my classroom or what teachers may find in their classroom today.
Well, and even when I was growing up, it was like if you got a glockenspiel out, that was a big special day. Like, oh my gosh, we're actually going to have a glockenspiel today, and you might only play one note in that, and now it's changed so much. So
I had one alto xylophone that was at my building before, and then I bought a second one. I personally bought one because I was somebody that I kind of helped West Music all those 3 summers. I was like, I could call the 800 number and say, could you bring up 3 more copies of this? I mean, this is even before Music for Children, the volumes were really used. The American edition was out there. Recorder Roots, the Hugh Orr recorder book, Grace Nash's books. Jane and Arvita had a dozen a day, and they had another book they'd co-written. But there really were, and Connie had a few books, and Connie Saliba, but there were very few publications that were really out there. So yeah, it's so different from today, where when we go to a convention or a summer workshop, we're maybe taking a ukulele and puppets and children's books and all kinds of puppets and recorders and, of course, percussion and Orff instruments. But I'm way ahead of our story, probably, huh?
No, you're great. So, okay, so now going from there, how did your journey with West Music happen? And
Well,
that part of the story.
Well, the woman that had my job, West Music actually really got into elementary education in probably 1975. My predecessor, a teacher here in Iowa, approached Steve West, who then became my boss shortly after that, about why didn't he have somebody calling upon elementary music teachers? And so she would actually get in the West Music Band and go visit a couple elementary teachers around, maybe go to Cedar Rapids and visit Iowa City. And not that there were budgets to be held back then, but I remember getting a catalog. Oh, it was small. Or a flyer about a Hohner recorder for $2.50. And it was the Watts line. And so I'd get money from my principal and I'd call and get my recorders and all that kind of stuff. But then, as I said a little earlier, I had 3 buildings, and I was hoping I could find another district in Iowa where I maybe could have 1 school or 2 schools. I really hadn't done my research to understand how rural was, and I should have known since I've lived in Iowa all my life, but many places are that way. So I was helping, Linda was the lady all the time in the summer, and even at the Iowa Music Educators. I helped her a little bit one year. And then she approached me and she said, "So Judy, I want to go back to school and I think you'd be great for this job." And I went, and this was my 2nd year teaching. And I went, no, I'm a music teacher. I love this job. I want to teach music. And she goes, "Well, think about it, because I'll keep asking you." And so by my 3rd year in, then I was thinking, well, maybe a couple years. I also, my boyfriend, now husband of over 40 years, wanted to go back to school. Oh, hopefully, my parents are gone, so they won't see this. Anyway, a little juicy known fact about that, Judy Pine. So he wanted to finish his degree. So I went, well, I think I have a job. So I approached her and I said, well, how about I take the job? I said, I won't promise I'll be there forever. And she goes, that's all right. She goes, sure, come on over. So I came over to Iowa City, interviewed with Steve West. She basically had told him I was good for the job. And I had the job after that one interview, not knowing what I was doing. I mean, I thought, oh, I get to travel to all these summer workshops and I work on the catalog and I go to a convention or 2. What do I do the rest of the time? Well, so in the spring of 1980, I left my job and I had 1 week to move over here. And the first week of June, I started here. And the catalog, the first little itty bitty catalog, about this big, enough to put inside a man's jacket pocket, inside a woman's purse. But the way it was described to me, and I thought, men are not going to put that in their pocket, but oh well. So I started that summer and learned about the products we were selling and read up about stuff and got to, she didn't leave until she was there most of the summer. Grace Nash taught a workshop in Emporia, Kansas. And she went down, my predecessor went down there for the workshop. She also went over to Champaign, Illinois. That was when there was a course at Champaign-Urbana, University of Illinois. But by the end of the summer, in August, she had left and I was prepared to go up to Hamline University, which was the predecessor to University of St. Thomas. And so I was excited. I was going to get to go to where I had started taking, people I knew and teachers, and it was going to be a lot of fun. And it was, since I'd studied up there, I knew the faculty, and I could kind of go from this class to that class and then go down and run the bookstore and then go to this class and that class. And it was a great time. I enjoyed it. And then the reality hit of, but I don't have any second graders to use this with. And that was kind of a bit of a shock at first. And then I thought, no, I'm only going to do this job for 2 years. He has to get his degree done. In 2 years, I'll look for another job. And so we boogied along, and fall of 80, we went to the Iowa Music Educators. And I don't think we went to, and that was in January then. And I don't think there was any other convention. Oh, I got to go to the ORF convention as a West Music employee in the fall of 80 in Pittsburgh. I got to go for the fun of it. Sonar ORF gave me a badge, and I got to go out and look at the conference through different eyes, paying attention to the exhibit hall, talking to teachers, meeting a few people maybe I had talked with on the phone, because business was almost all on the phone back then. You didn't have email. And so that's how I started. And now we provide, I like to, and it could be wrong, hopefully nobody checks me on it, but I think we provide instruments and or materials, whether it's in person or online, for 80% of the Orff Schulvert courses that happen in the United States, and about 12 to 15 Kodai courses, and all the world music drumming courses. So we've gone a long way, plus about 15 to 18 conferences during the year. It's about all we can handle. It's a lot. So that's kind of how it started and how it's gone.
Well, okay, so I kind of want to ask this question, and if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to, but when you left teaching and went to West, did you ever really look back? I mean, sounds like initially, yes.
Oh, I did.
But
I did. Yeah. That first year was hard.
Yeah.
Because I was calling vendors and trying to guess about how many LPs. Yeah, we sold LPs then. This was before Phyllis Weichert. Phyllis was selling 45.
Yes.
I would call the Sonar rep. I would call down to Studio 49. Rebo wasn't even a company that elementary music ed had even heard of then, let alone we called LP. My Latin percussion rep was always shocked at how many mini cabasas I'd order every month. He'd go, "What are you doing with them?" And I go, "Well, they're really popular in elementary school because they fit young children's hands."
Yes.
And he was like, "Oh, I never thought about that." And I went, "Well, stick with me. I'll sell them for you." And so by the end of the second year, and my husband's going, "Okay, so you're going to start applying for jobs?" Well, we weren't married quite yet. And I went, I kind of like it. Can't you get another degree? And so he went on for his master's. And then at the end of his master's, he goes, "Now?" And I went, "No." And we stayed and we stayed and we stayed. So this June 9th will be my 45th anniversary at West Music.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been here a long time. The gray hair should show it.
Well, and not to dwell on this, but your role has also changed through the years, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. When I started, I did everything. I bought the product. I put it away. I we entered all orders on typewriters. We had 2 shelves in the back room where I would keep product, and the Orff instruments were just on one little row. Recorders were back in the shed. This is a mom and pop music store that's grown a lot through the years. We had one location. No, there were 2 locations then. 2 locations then. And it was mostly a retail job. And then, oh, by the way, there's this catalog. And gosh, now this 800 numbers really hopping because teachers would get our catalog. We first sent it out to Iowa and the 7 states around us. So Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, North and South Dakota. That was it. And then after going to the Orff Convention and we went to Texas TMEA one year, people were like, well, why don't you send us your catalog? So we sent catalogs to every elementary in the United States. And bing, bang, bingo, we're hopping. And we were very, very busy. So West has kind of really gone with the time. I mean, they sold organs for years, not so much now. Now we sell sound systems. I don't, but the regional stores do. So West has grown as the need has been, trying to fill those niches. The catalog department, the elementary department is really one of those niches that has, put us on the map nationally. Along with, we have a group called the Flute Authority, which sells professional flutes and repairs those quality flutes. And we have another division called Percussion Source, which caters to high school, college, the professional percussionist. They sell claves that are a lot more money than I'd ever think about. But wow, the sound, let alone the timpani.
Well, and I think that's so important for this company that they're able to adapt and they see needs. They see this is an area we should really move into because there's a need there. And
it's always with a risk. You have to have good business people who understand about the risk, and the code was always you walk before you run. You walk before you run. I mean, we had my first time at AOSA would have been, did I have 2 booths? I think we had 3. We drove to Albuquerque in 1981. Oh my gosh, that was a trip from Iowa. And back. Van drove, worked just fine. And then it was expensive. So the next year, I think it was out northwest. We could see Mount Hood. Where's Mount Hood? Because I can remember seeing Mount Hood out the window of the room the exhibits were in. And I flew by myself. I was the only one in the booth. Oh, it's an organ. That's right. So yeah, and now AOSA, we take 10 booths, TMEA, we take 24. It all depends on the size of the show, the size of the interest, and we can't go everywhere. And everybody's going, why don't you come to our state? Well, they all seem to stack. There's so many in January and February. We just can't. We have to have people that mind the store too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. That's a lot of information. I love talking to you. All right. So
I'll take this down a rabbit hole anytime you want to.
So can we now shift into classrooms? Because one thing we want to try to address is especially like newer teachers or people coming into newer jobs, newer spaces. You can be a teacher who's taught for 15 years, but now you're in a brand new, a whole new setting. What do I do? So my question is, what would you say as you go into either a new classroom or a new teaching job, or you're a brand new teacher, about just assessing the inventory that you have in your teaching space, maybe just your space or else your instrumentarium, how would you go about that?
Stop. I think first you have to look to see, do you have a piano? Yeah. And if you have a piano, when was the last time it was tuned? Is there a budget to have it tuned? If you're not, you can at least plunk a little bum chuck, a little boom chuck out of it. Then look at the percussion. Do you have enough? Do you have a variety of jingle bell, woods, metals, skins, and shakers? Do you have any kind of an egg shaker, any kind of a shaker instrument for little children? Do you have tap taps? Do you have sand blocks? Do you have jingle bells? Do you have then rhythm sticks? And are the rhythm sticks in good shape? Are the jingle bells, half of them falling off? Are they a hazard? You don't ever want anybody hurt. And so, look at that. Find, have an understanding of what's your largest class size going to be? Do you have enough at least so that one of every two can play, one of every three, and then find out, talking to your principal. So I have enough small percussion so that when it's time for Christmas, 10 of the 30 kids in my classroom can play something. And he'll go, is that good? He or she? Well, it'd be better if at least half of the kids. Well, what would that cost? We'll get there in a second. So, but to look at what you have, take an inventory of how many, what shape they're in. Are they broken? Are they bent? Do they need to be replaced? Then look and see at somebody's catalog, somebody's website, and go, all right, so we have woods. We have wood blocks and TikToks and sand blocks and all of those good things. But I heard somebody play a kabasa or a vibral slap, or how about a flexitone? I used to be able to play Happy Birthday on flexitone, but don't ask me to do it now. But anyway, think about those additional percussion instruments. Do you have any hand drums or frame drums? And what shape are they in? Are they the tacked on head that somebody put their fist through a few years ago? Are they a tunable one that now somebody has never released the tension so they look like a saddle? Those sorts of things. Do you have any larger drums? Do you have a bongo? Is it on a stand? Do you have a conga? Are they on stands? A djembe on a stand? Because those bigger drums, you want to be able to tip them so the sound comes out. And a young child, third, fourth grader could handle it, but first and second graders, those kind of instruments are a little big for them. Remo Tabanos are the trick there because they're a cylindrical drum and they have feet so they rest on the floor so that you don't have to tip it. Even if you're sitting in your chair and have them in front of you, or a child is sitting in a wheelchair, a drum could be brought close to them so they could play it. So the littlest things, do you have cymbals, triangles, and do all of your triangles have holders and strikers? Because if they don't have a striker, don't use a bobby pin or a nail. I remember I had nails in the box and a couple of them were rusty and I went, well, those are gone.
Oh my gosh.
Gotta find those, Well, it's all about your predecessor's interest and interest was. We're going to leave it at that. Did they have an understanding of how to have a rhythm band? Are there any Orff instruments there? And if so, how many? Are all the bars there? Do you have the F sharps and B flats? Check the bars on the bottom. Are there splinters on the rosewood bar? Time to get it replaced. Keep in mind, not every Orff instrument made during my lifetime is still available. Some are, but not everyone is still available, which is probably okay. I remember when I taught, I had 2 alto xylophones, one that was mine personally, one that belonged to my school, and I moved them between 3 buildings every day. Those puppies got a workout. And then my percussion, I didn't have enough percussion at every school either. So I went to the liquor store and got a box because it had a handle on it and all the dividers in there. And with that, I could then put my rhythm sticks in and my jingle bells, and I had a kibasa, put my kibasa in there, and then I had a little musical tote that I took from place to place.
And I think it's so important, especially for new teachers, because I think when you interview for jobs, you're so focused on, I just want to get the job, which is important, but you forget to go look in the cupboards, look at the instruments, look what kind of inventory you're walking into, because you don't want to take the job and then find out I don't have half the stuff I thought.
Well,
you just want to get a temperature of the room and see.
I said your piano. You also need to find out what technology is in your room.
Right.
I never use technology in my room, but you need to find out, do you have a laptop? Do kids have iPads they could bring in? And
right.
Do they work with what program? And do you have a interactive whiteboard on the wall? Do you have any books? Or by chance, any textbooks that maybe still are usable, depending on the time frame of the songs, the background of the songs. We'll say it that way.
Well, and just even just the general sound system in the room. Yes. I mean, how does this operate? And is this right out of my laptop? Does that work, or do I have to? Is there
a sound system? Where do am I expected to, or is part of the job that you're expected to have your children perform? Do they do informices in the classroom where parents come in? Or I hauled my kids up to the high school twice a year, and we were on the stage on the risers. Where do you do those sorts of things? Because that's part of your job. That's just like anybody would ask about going into a job. Not only is, what the job description says, but what are my tools? What tools do I have? Is there a budget? Is there any way to fundraise? Some schools say no for elementary. Some say, oh yeah, you can work with the PTO. Great. PTA, are there ways to do those sorts of things? Do some research before you apply for a job or take a new job, because I have teachers I talk to all the time that call and go, well, I changed positions and I forgot to open one cupboard, and boy, was that a mess, because there were too many surprises in there that were unusable. Are there if you want any things on your walls, is there anything left that is decent quality to reuse? Because if not, that will be something you make or you buy here or there. I was always making something from the opaque projector back then. There probably aren't even opaque projectors in schools, are there?
Probably not. Well, I don't know. I remember them, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
It's been a long time since I was in a school, so I try to be careful about technology, because since I'm twice removed. So it's just important to look to see what you have that is the reality of what's in your classroom, let alone what the opportunities might be the first year, the second year, the third year. Don't have them say, well, in 5 years, that's a long time to have an opportunity. And of course, a good principal will make you, and hopefully you'll be able to have a good principal. And it's hard to find out how that is. You just kind of have to go with your gut. I remember when I applied for my job, the job I got, it was a 1-year position. The lady she'd taken a sabbatical. It was my 8th interview. And she'd taken a sabbatical. And so I knew it was only 1 year. And well, why would you only want to take a 1 year job? And I go, because I need a job. And he goes, well, do you have any experience? And I said, well, I plan to get some here. You know, a beginning teacher, somebody needs to take a chance on me and give me a chance. You can see in my reviews, in my paperwork, that I had good reviews from my student teaching supervisor and this and that. So to try to find ways to find out about all that kind of stuff.
What would you, I know you've been out of teaching for a long time, but you deal with this stuff, I mean, with your job. What would you suggest to music teachers who need equipment or need things in their room, a good way to advocate to, because I mean, as we both know, there are good administrators and some that are not as supportive.
Well, sometimes there aren't budgets either.
There aren't budgets. And so, I mean, all of these things come into play.
Yeah. Well, one thing is just to, as you have your whole list, you know what you have, also work up a list of, this is what I like. These are my top 3 wants. These are what I think the prices are. Oh, maybe I'll contact West Music. Maybe they can give me a quote on them. Now, quotes are only valid for 30 days, but at least you have an idea of what prices might be. Have an idea of what you want, because the minute that administrator comes up with $500 or $1,000 or $5,000, you want to be able to spend every penny and to look prepared that, oh, well, yeah, we could use 3 more xylophones. We don't have a bass. Portable keyboards. In my classroom, I never had portable keyboards, but a teacher might say, another teacher in the district has portable keyboards, and some of my kids go over there. They've moved across town, and they go, why don't I have keyboards, Miss Pine? Well, a district could look at equality across the district too, but that takes time. That takes foresight and a bigger chunk of money. Then also look into grants. I know at westmusic.com, we have funding resources listed. I don't remember, Aaron, you'd have to look at the bottom of the website, but there's a link on the bottom of our website that talks about different funding sources such as, I'm not going to think of them now. Adopt a Classroom is one. There's also Donors Choose. There's a whole bunch of various funding ideas, and go to the American Off Schulberg website page. They have ideas for funding. Mr. Holland's Opus, is that one still there? Save the Music. That's the one I wanted. Save the Music. That organization works with a number of states, especially with schools in areas that have a greater need. Hint, hint, save the music. And that could be then for your whole district or your county. Takes some work. None of it's easy. But there are ways you can research, ask your fellow teachers. Go find whether you have any ORF or Kodai or world music drumming training, whether you have any of that training. If you want some, figure out where to find it. One thing to do is to go to the American Orff Schulwerk homepage, the Organization of American Kodai homepage, World Music Drumming homepage, and they will talk about where their trainings are. But also, Orff and Kodai both will show you the chapters around the country. Every state in the United States has a chapter. Fellow teachers in the same state who may be taught at your building, who have a sense of, well, this is a grant I went after. How did you do that? Well, you do this, this, and this. Follow the steps. It's laid out there. Just be sure you meet the deadline. It's a hard deadline to make it. Okay. Network. Network's important in any position in life. It's important whether you're a church musician, a music teacher, or you work at a business. networking is very important. You have to find people that support you, that you can support and collaborate with. So anyway, back to these chapter workshops. If there's a fee, you maybe go from 9 to 1, maybe 9 to 2, and you go home with some great ideas that you could try Monday. That everybody knows, a Saturday workshop, there's things for people to try on Monday. There's going to be basic things. There might be things that are a little challenging for you as a musician, which is just fine. You need that challenge too. But things you could, lessons and ideas and things of where to go and who to meet, so you can grow yourself as a musician, as an educator, and help your students grow so that they want to be involved in music and they appreciate music. That's what we all need.
Well, and I think another part of that, attending workshops and things, I think something we forget as educators, because we don't like to toot our own horns, is letting your administration know you attended a workshop on Saturday and you gave of your own time to do this, to bring things back to your kids. Because when they know that, I always get a response that says, I didn't even know you did that. This is so great for our kids. You're bringing stuff. But if you don't tell them,
right,
they won't know.
Or when you've got a piece, you've got something put together, you've got your rhythm band piece ready. How about we invite the principal in?
Yes.
How about we have your classroom teacher come 5 minutes early and we'll play for them? What do you think, kids? Are we ready to do that? Yes. They'll sit up straight and tall and help you with it.
Yeah.
All of those, it's ways kids want to shine. They really do. And it's ways then to show what you've learned and how you've grown as a teacher to help all the students.
And the adults love it. The classroom
Yes,
teachers, they want to see these things. And so many times they don't get invited to see things.
Another good idea is that maybe work with that classroom teacher to say, is there what kind of in your curriculum, could you tell me some way that you think maybe music could be a part of that? Some part of the country or the world you're learning about. I can maybe find some resources and we could learn a song, whether we sing a song or we play a song or we accompany a song or we dance a certain way, to enhance what they learn in their classroom. All that cross-curricular. Is that still the right word? Cross-curricular?
Yes.
There's also so much children's literature out there about different parts of the world and country, history, inclusion, diversity, just a wealth. I know there's one, I don't know if it's Instagram or Facebook thing I follow, where the woman stands there and she talks about songs about this, and then she'll show this book and then this book and this children's book. I can't write them down fast enough. And they don't all pertain to music. Of course, sometimes most children's literature, it's a rhyme, it's a repetitive spot. It's not necessarily a illustrated song anymore. And teachers are creative in how to use all those books. Weave a story around it. That's always fun too. Well, and ask your classroom teachers, what do you have any insights for me? What website have you found helpful for you? Do you have any materials? This sort of a thing, because then it helps everyone in the building too, let alone the community, as well as then these Orphan Codi chapters and World Music Drumming in the summer. You can get more resources too, as well as conventions. Conventions, you'll get other great ideas too. It's not 2 full weeks, 9 to 4. You'll get 3-4 sessions a day. Great things out of the 2.5 days of your conference. But you also then get to have that network of fellow teachers. And those are also important too. But it's good to do, just to get out there. I remember when I taught, I was the newbie and there was one other teacher in my town. And she was like, show me again what you did with that piece. And I shared my idea with her and what we'd done in the classroom, because I had 2 xylophones and she didn't have any. Guess what? She got her principal to buy her 2 xylophones the next year. And then she went and took a level 1 Orff-Schulwerk. I shouldn't say I was thankful she took the leap. It's all about taking a leap. I don't mean to say that I was the reason. It's just they were interested and were willing to step out of the norm, because that's important, to take that leap.
Okay. Well, and sometimes, no, it's not just about one person, but sometimes it takes that person in your life. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I started my Orff levels, I just had a good friend who was at St. Thomas and had just finished hers. And she said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to come up here. You're going to stay with me and you need to take your level 1. You need, this is going to change your teaching.
That's right. And it did. It changed yours. It changed mine. Some people are more interested in drumming. Some people are more comfortable, have more of they're really intrigued in the Kodály context and all of those wonderful materials. Some people using Orff-Schulwerk with singing, saying, dancing, playing, all works together. You got to find what works for you. But first you have to try this, try that. I remember when I taught school, my first year at Drake University in Des Moines, I was about an hour and a half away from there. The professor became ill in the spring and wasn't going to be there. And there were some seniors that needed more hours. So the university was clever. And they came up with 5 Saturday workshops that they then had their students, the college students, take. But they invited elementary music teachers to come at no charge. I saw Jane Frazee. I saw Bob Abramson, Dalcroze. Oh, I really enjoyed that. I saw Sister Lorna Zemke with Kodály. There was somebody there with computers, but it was pretty early on. And I had no access to that in my building, and nobody was interested in that at all. There was no funding at all for that at that time. They were ahead of their time. I don't remember what the 5th one was, but it was a major leap. And I couldn't get that other teacher in my district to go with me once. But I went. I went every Saturday, had a great time, and came home and tried out new ideas on my kids. They were always like, what'd you learn Saturday, Miss Triggs? Well, I learned this. Do you want to try? And we had a good time. We learned a lot together. That's what education is. You learn together.
Okay, so I have one more question. You kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, and we're going to do, spoiler alert, anybody on this podcast, but we're going to talk about this in a full podcast later this year. But what are some PD opportunities for music teachers over their summers? Or it could be during the year too. I mean, you kind of mentioned a few, but.
Well, in the summer, there are sometimes there's a 2-day teacher workshop or a 3-day elementary music teacher workshop that perhaps focuses on Orff or focuses on Kodály. It might be called an intro, where you're being introduced to things. World Music Drumming is a week-long workshop. They're in various places across the country. You can't always get professional development for these. Of course, it costs a little more money for credit, but professional development and university credit is important as you move up the ladder. Orff-Schulwerk and Kodály certification I think they're almost all 2-week workshops in the United States. There was a time there were a couple of 3-week ones, and that just became too much money. Where there might be something within your state or a nearby state, or maybe you fly all the way across the country because you go, where do I go? Well, what state do you live in? Look at the Orff Association, look at the Kodai Association, look at World Music Drumming. Look to see which state things are in. What time of the summer are they in? Oh, I can't go over the 4th of July. Guess what? There are many other weeks than the 4th of July. So there are some courses I know that are going to start that first week of June. Oh, I'm not out of school yet. Well, there are courses the last 2 weeks of July. I'm on vacation. Well, there are some that are the last 2 weeks of June or the middle 2 weeks of July. Most courses in the country. Oh, I know of one that's in August in New Jersey, an Orff workshop, or of course. And I'm probably missing somebody. So I apologize to anybody. No hate mail. Okay. This is Judy, you forgot us. But there are many opportunities. You just have to kind of noodle around. And if you go, what did she say? Where did she say to go? Guess what? You can email me and I'll help you out. Okay. The same thing with chapter workshops. I have a new teacher calls me, not as much as I used to. I'm not on the phones directly as much as I once was. I'm now in the events team. So I help manage all the Orff and Kodai workshops. Teresa Evans does world music drumming, and then conventions. Teresa and I, we manage different conventions. We collaborate on things about what's going to happen where, and our staff, and sometimes teacher friends that go with us too. But I can help perhaps connect you somewhere, because I'll say, well, where do you live? And then I'll pull up a map, lickety split, and go, guess what? There's a chapter workshop, 2 weeks. Well, I'm busy that week. Well, how about I give you this website and you go look and see if there's a workshop in April. How's April sound? Oh, I could do April. All right, so go. Here's the chapter president. Here's the email of the person. I'm going to connect you right now. Is that all right? I'm that bold. Yeah, I'm that bold. I'm going to connect you right this very minute. Because I want people to step out and leap. Sometimes conventions can cost a bit for registration. Sometimes you can just go a day. Summer workshops, you can also audit them. I know you can take them and audit. If you're really, really, really hesitant about what to do in the summer and you're close to something, maybe you could just go sit a day or watch a part of a day. Remember, people are learning and they're teaching each other, and so they really aren't wanting a guest so much, or maybe you could go to the sharing on the last day to see what everybody learned and go, really? They learned I wish I knew how to do that. So there are things all year long, let alone maybe you could, depending on the size of your district, maybe you as a district get together. This other teacher and we would get together. She showed me how to tune my auto harps. I had no idea how to tune my auto harps. I didn't use them all that much, but she gave me ideas on how she used them, and I tried them with my kids. My 4th graders loved them because they'd never played them before. Anything new you give a kid, they're going to be like, this is darn cool. Typically, there's always some hard knocks.
Well, and I like what you're saying, because even if you can't make a 2-week course work, but you can get part of it, it's creating a spark.
And it's a spark. That's exactly.
It's going to get them more enthused to say, you know what? I think maybe I could do this next summer. I'm going to
going to
make this
start
work.
to save my money, and I'm going to look for a course where I always say teachers take level 1 because of any course, because it's the right time of the summer. They have a relative they could stay with, or the cost is right. I mean, there are courses, I don't know if in every state, I know there's an ORF chapter in Alaska, probably a Kodai chapter too, because people aren't going to fly that far away. Not all the time, it gets expensive. But, there are people to connect with, whether in your community or the district next to you. Maybe you're in a rural community. You could find out who the music teacher is in that next community and say, hey, maybe I could get a half day off with my principal. And would you mind if I come watch you teach? And maybe you could come watch me teach and we could kind of help each other out. Why
Well, and
not?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think school districts, especially smaller districts, are getting a lot smarter about that and saying, as a specialist teacher, art, music, PE, I don't need you sitting in here to look at math scores for 3 hours.
Well,
it would be more valuable for you to go watch another person that does what you do.
Yeah.
And they're doing more of that. And I think that's really valuable.
Well, let's hope that's happening all around the country.
Well, true.
Might be a pocket here, might be a pocket where you were. It all depends on where you're situated and what the situation is. But, doesn't hurt to try to find something somewhere. And those 3 organizations, ORF, Kodai, and Drumming, are 3 where there's many, many opportunities in the summer. And then some of those same faculty are people that present at conventions. So then you have a buddy when you get there, and they are going to remember you. They're going to remember you as their student, just as you remember your students. So, give it a try, give it a whirl.
Well, okay, so you have to come back to this podcast, because the one thing we never talked about, because we've talked so much today, is we didn't talk about any instrument repair.
Oh.
And that was in questions, but that could be a whole...
Could I talk for 5 minutes about instrument repair?
Yes, please.
All right. So you have an ORF instrument. You look at it. You look at all the bars. Make sure there aren't any. Make sure the bars aren't missing, number one. Are there any splinters on the bars? Are the bars in tune when you play them? You don't need to really get a tuner out to tune them, because when ORF instruments are tuned, they use a specific tuner that is not exactly your phone, an app on your phone. Okay? Keep that in mind. But if you're a buzz somewhere, get your glue out. Go to the hardware store, get your wood glue, put a bead of glue in all those places, and every seam. Put it on its side, glue it. Put it on the other side, glue it. Turn it upside down so you don't bend any pins, glue it. Hey, the buzz is gone. Is the tubing dead? Does it look like dead worms? Like somebody ran over it? Well, there's new kinds of tubing. It's kind of an elastic cording inside. Much better stuff. There are pins. There are flexible rubber pins. Some companies use. There are also nails with a rubber sleeve. It all depends on what your instrument uses. Wes sells Sonar and Studio 49. I've used those pins and parts on many brands through the years, back when I did some local repair. Ukuleles, you probably have to take your ukulele or your guitar to your local store if you have one, because you might have to have a bridge work, or maybe a new set of strings would be good, or the tuner, those kinds of things. Okay. Hand drums, you can get new heads for hand drums. You can do that. You can get heads for turbano drums. Bass bars, you can get the The bumper underneath the bar, it's amazing how much bounce that'll give to a bass bar to help it. Feet on the bottom of the bass bar. A Studio 49 glockenspiel, an alto glockenspiel, has a cover on the lower end of the resonator box. You can actually buy that plate and put it on. So there are options, and there might just be a repair budget at your school. Not new. There might be a repair, because think about everything else in your school has to be repaired, and it's probably less expensive to repair than to replace. Now, it really doesn't work. We don't have people that go out and repair instruments across the country. I wish we did, but we don't. It's not practical. There are music stores in different parts of the country that do that kind of work. And if you find a music store that does that, good for you. We have some how-to videos on our website, the studio, mmb.com. They are the distributor for Studio 49. They have videos. Lissa Ray did them with this little ambulance that went around, and then she's wearing her white coat and everything, I've looked at her stuff all the time and shared it with people. It's, these instruments, they need a little love and care. Get your vacuum out. Sweep all those dust bunnies out. If it's wood on the outside, if it's not a veneer, clean it off. Clean your bars. Glockenspiel bars, if your glockenspiel bars have rust, little drop of woodwind key oil and a very fine steel wool. Careful. So there are things that can be done. We have some videos on our website. Randy Hargis has done some. I've done some. There's always need for more. But that's what I would do.
I think you were the one that taught me too, because you were at my school district showing us how to fix things. But when you have a rubber pin that's broken off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And didn't we use a screwdriver and
so the pin, if here's your resonator box and your pin's here and it breaks off, you just cut it sharp against the top, and then you're going to drill down with the screwdriver. A guy, when I first started at West and I was asked to do some repair, I wasn't very confident with the electric drill. I was afraid I'd go right through somebody's resonator box. So he got me a screwdriver and he said, well, what size of a drill bit do you need? I don't remember, but he took a drill bit and he welded it to the screwdriver. So I had a little handheld business. I know my friend Jennifer Donovan in Kansas City, when I went down there years ago, because I had a nephew I could stay with, she had her drill along and she's like, zip, 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 3/4 of an inch down. And then you pull it out and there you go. You put a little wood glue on it, pop it in, let it dry. You got a new pin. It's amazing.
It was amazing. I just remember when you did it, I think we were all scared to pieces. Like,
of course you were.
No.
Because you knew how much money that instrument was and how much money it would be to replace it. But it means maintenance needs to happen. Tubing, when it gets dried and dead, you cut it off at one end. There's a way you could either I've done this with a flathead nail, and you kind of attach it on the end, not on the end piece so much, but just right there, about as close to that end piece as you can get. And then you weave it in between. Sometimes newer instruments have 2 strands that are braided. Old ones had 1. And I'd first just kind of play with 1 strand, not attach it on both sides. Play your instrument and go, that sounds good. Because if you put 2 down, you might deaden it more than you think. 2 strands are different than 1. Now, the end pieces, they are not available to buy. You need to find somebody who's handy, a woodworker who's handy, and show them what you got. show them a picture of what it should be, and I bet you they can make one. And then they can just screw it in, make it go, make it fit. Why not?
Well, this is
It's a piece of furniture that
right.
we all love dearly because it creates such wonderful music.
Well, and I think we just tend to be more scared than we need to be. You just feel like, I don't know if I dare do this because I don't want to.
My dad taught me how to use tools, but I was afraid to do it on an instrument because I thought it's an instrument.
Right.
I'm not just pounding nails into the barn because I need to get this board back. Yes, I grew up on a farm.
Okay, now, before I let you go, we're going to have just a little bit of fun. I can't wait to hear what you say because Ryan West surprised me with his answers. So we're going to do a quick lightning round, and they're just whatever answer there are no rights or wrongs because they're your favorites. So I wanted to do favorite holiday song, but this podcast will not go out till January. Okay. So it's a little late for that. So favorite song.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
Oh, that's a good.
My mother used to sing that to me.
That's a good one. That does my heart good. Okay. How about favorite composer or artist? Could be either one.
Gershwin. Gershwin.
Oh, you've got good answers. Okay. Favorite musical?
Wicked.
Yes. Okay, but then I have to ask you this question because it's the burning question right now. Should you be singing when you go see the movie?
No. Internally. I sang internally.
I'm glad you said that because I agree with you. Okay, and then one more. Favorite underrated instrument?
Boy, underrated instrument. Oh, you're going to laugh at me. Nose flute.
Oh my gosh. That's even better than Ryan's answer.
That doesn't really count. I remember when I first worked at West, this time of year, for some reason, it was my job. I bought the slide whistles and the jaw harps. We don't even sell those anymore, probably because people are afraid they're going to wreck their teeth. And nose flute. And they were these cards out in the retail store. And I had to make sure there was always one, and I had to watch it and buy another one and get it out there, And I always thought nose flutes were just the most disgusting thing. I was so thankful when somebody didn't ask me to do it the next year. And I don't even think they're still out there. I wonder if they are nose flutes. I hope they aren't. I hope they aren't. Don't show a picture. It's just disgusting.
All right. Well, I want to say a big thank you to Judy Pine, our guest for today, for joining us, and thank everybody else for listening. This has been Play Now, Play for Life podcast with Erin. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing and leave a rating and review. And you can find Judy and all of us at westmusic.com. Also, you can find us at westmusic.com/playnowplayforlife. We're also on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X, and you can find those links in the description. Play Now, Play for Life is a podcast by West Music.